and welcome to the State of the Schools address. Before I hand the mic over to our superintendent, wanted to introduce our Board of Education that's here tonight. We have Board Member Katrina Reckless, Board Member Dr. Viola Johnson, and then it's my pleasure to hand the mic over to our Vice President of Board of Education, Mr. Jeff Birdie.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight on this beautiful day, and I hope you all got out to vote as well. Also, I wanted to make sure everybody knows this is Teacher Appreciation Week, so if you know teachers, please thank them for what they do for our children every day. And I'd like to now turn the microphone over to who you all came to hear, Mr. Anthony G. Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Birdie. Okay, if my voice sounds a little weird, it's because it's weird. Dr. Johnson. Okay, so we started everything out with a question. And our main question is, why are we here and what are we supposed to do? And I don't mean here in this place called this room. I mean in public education. So how many people know for a fact that there are people out there in education land that's trying to dismantle public education? Okay. We have to be the gatekeepers to make sure that it does not happen because of the work that we do and the work that we plan to do. So anybody read any articles lately about school districts having issues around diversity, racial tension, anything like that? Well, some people jumped on the bandwagon because they were in trouble, okay? We decided to do something a little bit different. We talked about diversity in a variety of ways, not because we're in trouble, but because we are diverse. And we brag about something in our district where there are over 26 languages spoken. But with the 26 languages spoken, what do we do with it? How do we embrace it, and how do we make sure that everybody gets a voice? So we joined this project with Winton Traditions. And they are a very, very diverse company where they talk about diversity, but they talked about some of the things about our own issues. Everybody in this room has a bias about something, okay? And sometimes the bias comes out strong, sometimes it's a little bit weaker, but it always exists. So what happened with Winton Traditions, they gave us an opportunity to figure out what some of our limitations were and how to make sure that we can embrace children in a different way. In this community called Forest Park, of where we are right now, everything was either black or white. There were very few other diverse groups in our region. And so now we have over 26 different ones in our school alone. But do they get equal billing? Do they get treated fairly? And along the way, we've had conversations with adults, but how do we get that information to the children, right? So does project-based learning help us create a more diverse group of young people? How many people say yes or no? Yes? Absolutely, because it teaches young people how to work in groups, how to collaborate, and show the spirit of honesty and integrity. So, in the wake of the numerous racist instances occurring in Cincinnati suburban public and private schools, Winton's leadership recognized the importance of having a culturally competent staff before an incident occurred. The training included valuable learning opportunities on how culture influences who we are and impacts student learning. We didn't wait. So we had a combined meeting with the Board of Education, 5 members, the executive team, and then we went on and took the message to the DLT. So what's the next step? What do you think the next step would be? To the teachers. And then what is the next step after the teachers? The children and the parents. Thank you, Ms. Roselle. So it doesn't just stop in our vacuum called school. It has to go and broaden itself out into the bigger community. Because guess what's going to happen very, very soon? There are going to be how many workers coming into our district working on these incredible, beautiful campuses? How many different groups of people, how many cultures do you think will be represented here? More than 2. And if our restaurant owners, if our school business partners, if everybody in our community, through our municipality and everything else, understands that these workers are here to strengthen our community, guess what? They're going to be treated a little bit differently. And if they're treated a little bit differently, guess what? They might decide to what? Stay and live here and be part of our community. So we have a great opportunity right now because of all the diversity. Someone mentioned there could be over 1,500 workers coming into this community alone. Do you know how many opportunities that would be for our district? So we became more intentional about creating access points for all students to high-quality curriculum, teaching, and deeper learning. And we're becoming more mindful of the implicit bias that often impedes access to students furthest away from opportunities. So I have this mindset, I don't really believe in achievement gaps. I believe in opportunity gaps. Because you could have the same strand of teachers teaching the same concept to the same group of kids, but then what happens after that educational experience is gone? What other opportunities are we creating for our students? So if you're in the academy, you get to travel abroad. Why are people traveling overseas? What are we looking for? We're understanding other cultures and how they work and how diversified we can be every single day. So it's very important for our students to be very diverse. Because in the workforce, you don't know who you're going to actually run into. What if their experience in the workforce, that was the first time they had diversity? That means we've done a lousy job. We've done a lousy job if that's the first time they met diversity, okay? Because guess what? Behind diversity, guess what comes next? Adversity. It comes next. Because when you don't understand another group, you often kind of have a judgment about them, about what they believe in, what you think they are, and what you think they're going to do to you. We're always worried about what people are going to do to us, instead of worrying about what people can do for us. So, there you go. So here's our agenda: the construction, the 5 myths about people. I saw a lady in Kroger's, and she says, "Superintendent," I didn't know she recognized me, because I told her, I said, "My name is Steve Denny. I'm not." So she recognized me. I think we walk a little bit different, but we look just alike. And she says, "Why are we doing this project-based learning stuff?" And she caught me in the frozen food section, and we had a conversation for about 20 minutes. And part of the conversation that you're going to hear tonight stemmed from that conversation with her, because she wanted to know, how does this work, and how does it work for my children? So since then, I have not ventured this Kroger's over here anymore. I go to a different Kroger's now. But I think it was very important that she recognized me and asked me a question about education. I think that was big. All right. So the project-based learning process, growth towards achievement, a night of freedom. And then we'll move through. Curtain, please. Preschool Village, Advanced Placement, and College Credit Plus. Conversation with the superintendent, the upcoming Levy, enrollment, and then changing our conversation. So here's our great timeline. The middle school campus, which will be located where? This is a test. One more time. Green Hills. Early spring, beginning the construction, and we're hoping to have it completed by 2021. So we're excited about that. The high school campus, grades 7 through 12, will actually begin this fall, 2018, and we're hoping that the doors open in 2020. Now, there's something, can anybody read these 2 little stars down here? It says, the current intermediate school will be converted to a preschool village. Can anybody tell me why we're doing that? The intermediate building will be converted, remodeled. Where's Ms. Stiles? Remodeled. Because every time Ms. Stiles comes to my office, she says, "Remember, Superintendent, remodeled to a preschool village." Can anybody tell me why we want 300 preschoolers in the village? Because it'll feel good? Because Ms. Stiles gets to chase more of them around? It's because when the OFCC, when we first came up with this plan years ago before me, guess what? Preschool and kindergarten was not part of the formula. So our buildings will not accommodate them, so we had to come up with something that was going to be as exciting. So we're going to have a total remodeling project of the intermediate building. When we ran this bond years ago, One of the things that we told the community, we were not trying to build a new central office, okay? We weren't trying to build a beautiful, luxurious central office with a hot tub for the superintendent and luxury amenities. No, we said we would keep it simple, and this was about children, and we are keeping our word. You're going to be excited when you see where the central office is going to move to, because we are actually right in the middle of this project, meaning when they build the high school, central office is in the way. It has to go. It has to be demolished. So I am very, very sad about that 4-story high-rise building that we used to be part of. That's the new central office. Okay, it's not going to quite look like that. I don't think it's going to be leaning that way. But we're going to be in modulars temporarily. And you know what? I have to show some incredible love for Mr. Day and Ms. Schoppacher, because we're actually moving on their campus. So imagine the superintendent's office being next to your school. Anybody begging for that? All right, Mr. Martin, he likes pain. So we're excited because we want it to be closer to our preschool. And central office will be located right here in these modulars, right next to the intermediate building. So we're very, very excited. But here's the other catch. Kindergarten very well may have to be in there too, because we have more students than we anticipated. Districts across the country and across the state are shrinking. They're losing enrollment. We're gaining enrollment. And in one of the future slides, you'll see what our projected enrollment, what we really want our enrollment to look like in the future. So, in this new building, see the buildings over to your right? Yes. I wish we had a Vanna White kind of person that can kind of hold the signs up and walk them through. But we're very, very excited. But the buildings are going to have something in here that's not in many other buildings across the country. Student collaborative common spaces. If we can teach our kids how to collaborate, guess what, Mr. Dixon? That means they get along with each other, right? Okay. Now, that means all students collaborating, working collectively together for a common goal, solving problems, working on standards-based curriculum, understanding it, and being able to present it in an incredible format. Teacher collaborative common spaces. I know in some schools, that's the hard part, getting the teachers to collaborate, right? Oh, maybe it's in another district, not Winton Woods. Okay. Large combined classrooms where you can teach combined lessons, because here's the thing about combined lessons, and this is the thing we figured out. The way that we were taught years ago, I'm not saying it was wrong, but it didn't have all the attributes that our teaching does today. We were taught in single, endorsed classroom environments. We were taught math, English, science, and none of these things ever combined with each other. They never worked collectively with each other, because we thought they lived in isolation. Anybody in there ever had a course and you wondered, why am I taking this class? Why am I even in here? When will I use this again? Okay? And I know that my 2 granddaughters are saying, yeah, right now. No, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out, why am I taking these courses? What if we combine math with art, and art with science, and science with history, and history with English? And we made it a collaborative effort where our kids could be articulate in every particular content. Strong math people. I didn't say if you thought you were. Strong math people. I mean, you made A's in calculus. Raise your hand. 2, usually. Strong English people, raise your hand. Strong science people. Strong social studies people. And of course, my favorite group, strong lunch people. Okay. So think about it. Everybody here has a strength. What if you can take your strength and combine it with your weakness, and it makes both of them equally strong? That would be incredible. That's what we're trying to do. When football players are on the field and one guy can run fast and the other guy can catch very, very well, what the coaches are trying to do is to make sure that he can run fast and catch well, because otherwise it's a handicap for the team. The opposing team already knows he can run fast, but he can't catch the ball. So in order to strengthen our dimensions, what we want to do is make sure that our kids are well-rounded, they can understand content and deliver it in a very, very efficient way without having any kind of obstacles. because the world is tough, right? Getting into great colleges, having great jobs and great opportunities, it's very, very demanding, and it's challenging, and it's very, very competitive. What if our kids leave Winton Woods City Schools and they can do all of the above? What would you say? Job well done. So, the other thing, makerspaces, this is where you come through and make these incredible projects that you deliver on. Makerspaces. I'm making something that I can show the public that I've solved a problem. Distributive dining. I'll come back to that one. An outdoor theater. An outdoor theater where we can have concerts out in the green, out in the lawn. Usually, people won't try this because it's a very, very different concept. We saw something like this in California where they had these small amphitheaters all over the place, and they did concerts all over the place, and it was very, very exciting because guess what? Everybody got a chance to enjoy great music, great singing, great acting. It was an incredible experience. Community commons. Communities, you voted. You voted on this bond. And so in order for us to really understand our work and our passion, our mission, we want the community to enjoy the amenities. Because guess what? It's a joint school. This is a community school. And if we join hands and do it in a very, very celebratory way, guess what? At the end of the day, we will be proud to say we're Winton Woods City Schools. One of the things that we did early on, how many of you have ever been in a school and you've been touring the school, and when you walk through, you see a cafeteria, there are no children in it, but it's a big space. Anybody ever seen that? Big wasted space. You still have to heat it. You still have to put all this furniture in it. So we're doing something called distributed dining. We're actually going to bring the food to where the children are. They'll work, they'll understand their concepts, they'll get back to work. Now, I'm not saying that we'll just shove the food in there and say, get to work, and then they won't have any break time. They'll have break time. They'll have conversations, but these conversations will be rich conversations. How many of you have ever worked on a project and you worked on a project around food? We have someone who says the project was food. No. But you worked on the project around food, and it kind of gave you a chance to collaborate and fellowship with your classmate. And guess what? You know what distributive dining does? Because we've seen it in action. One of the things that it does is it stops what? Starts with a B, bullying. Because you're in smaller spaces where you can have intimate dining and conversations with your classmates, it stops bullying. Usually in the cafeteria, I know when I was a high school principal, I used to use FTEs, full-time employees, in strange ways. So I have a cafeteria of 600 people, 600 kids at a time, 2 lunches. And people would be stationed around the cafeteria looking like armed what? Right. No more. We don't need that. So you're talking about using your counselors and your teachers and your security people. That's a lot of people to use during the course of a day that's not for any instructional purposes. It's really only to stop problems from occurring. And if you look at any prison movie, San Quentin, Alcatraz, I know some of you can probably name some a little bit closer. Guess what? It looks the same way. You have people standing around watching people because you're afraid of what they may do. That's not how we're raising our children. You've got tables, no backs to the tables, on the chairs. When you go out for fine dining, that's not how you sit. You don't step into an area in a fine restaurant and now you just have a bench with a back off onto without a back. You don't. It's the same attitude that happens in our regular schools. Because guess what? Those tables are convenient. You fold them up, you roll them away, and you can do it another day. Well, we're not looking for convenience. We're looking for something that's called practicality, a practical place where children can enjoy a real meal with their classmates and have a good time. How many of you have ever come to an event at our school and you sat in the benches that didn't have the back on them and you thought, man, this is a very comfortable thing? And once you step out of your spot, that spot is gone, right? And I tell you, the high school people and the middle school people can tell you, the administrators, That creates so much disturbance. When you step into it, you're stepping on someone, you're bumping into someone, and once you move out, that space is gone. So why not have distributive dining where you have individual spaces, individual opportunities where kids can sit and learn and enjoy and have a good time having a meal? Anybody ever know young people who says, I don't want to go to the cafeteria? And it's not because of Mark Doctor's great nutritional meals. It's because something is going to happen in there that I'm afraid of. And we subject them to it every single day. Dr. Holden brought back this video from a friend of mine, Jeff, who is in California. And he talked about PTSD. Everybody know what that is? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Usually the people who get it are the people in the military. What about our children who get it and then they go back to the environment? The people in the military at least get out of the military. The kids that are subjected to it live it all day. And guess what? This social media thing about technology, years ago, Mr. Martin, I know you're taller, bigger, stronger, but I can tell you used to be bullied, all right? Okay, all right. Probably by a guy like me, all right? And you know what? The one thing about being bullied, guess what's so interesting about it? When we were being bullied years ago, when that time was up, we went into our homes, the bullying stopped. This thing goes on and on and on. And the social media, you can have a hit and you can get 1,000 hits in like 20 seconds. So bullying is following our kids all the way through. With distributive dining, guess what? You get to come together and be part of a cohort and a group of young people who say, we have the same common theme and the same idea about education, and we like each other. I hear Mr. Martin bragging about his senior class. And I've heard various people brag about this class. I heard the Denny's brag about it, the Martins, Dr. Holden. I've heard a variety of people talk about the senior class. These kids like each other. And that's going to be a group of people that we miss. But what if the next group liked each other more? Look at the turnout. Look at the camaraderie that we could have with our young people, where they like coming to school and they like the opportunities. So I have this term that I call my grandkids. I call them the littles, even though one of them think they're taller than me. I'm 6'3", so I don't know where she's getting that from. But during the course of the day, guess what? I ask them a question. Do you want to go to the school that we had set you up for? And they say, absolutely not. I like Winton Woods City Schools. So it's a good testimony for me that we're using our own product. And it says that job well done. Everybody talks about project-based learning like it's a thing. It's a process. It's a transformational model. So I'm going to go through a few myths about project-based learning, and you tell me if you believe it's true or not. PBL is the same as making something hands-on and learning or doing an activity. True or false? Okay. PBL includes projects in which students solve a complex problem and defend their solution in oral presentations or in writing. That's the truth. That's what they do. Defend the presentation in oral presentations and writing. PBL isn't standards-based. It focuses on soft skills like critical thinking and collaboration, but doesn't teach enough content, knowledge, and academic skills. That's a myth. This is what it does. They're driving questions, student products, important standards, and PBL marries the teaching of critical thinking skills with rich content because students need something to think critically about. It cannot be taught independent of content. It is taught together. It is a collective effort where it is taught together. And I'm going to tell you, that is really, really hard for teachers to do. Because teachers know their content very, very well, but guess what? Many of them don't know the content of their colleagues. So when you marry these two together, guess what? Or these three or these four, you're actually combining other people's thoughts and ideas to make the project worthwhile. Takes too much time. PBL takes too much time. Well, the truth is it actually takes less time because you have more collaboration and more efforts and more intention to the behavior of the students. A project is not meant to cover a long list of standards. You're not covering standards from September all the way to April. No, they're done in chunks so that kids can actually do them, realize what they've done, and then combine them with some scaffolding of things that they've learned before so they can build on that process. That's what they do. PBL is only for older students or fluent English speakers or those who don't have learning disabilities. Wrong. It's for every child. And we've seen it demonstrated in our schools. Projects are more effective. Teachers can use support strategies. But guess what? At the end of the day, there's still time for the worksheets and the projects and the booklets and some of the other online opportunities that young people have to participate in. So it's not just projects. And again, the great conversation that I had in the frozen food section at Kroger's inspired me to talk about this, because I can tell you, if she's asking that, other people have that same question. Too hard to manage, not fit into my teaching style. Well, guess what? The truth is, for some people, it was too hard to manage, and it didn't fit in their teaching styles. Project-based learning is difficult. But guess what? Our kids are worth it. They're worth the other challenges. They're worth the professional development. They're worth everything. So we need to start having our kids understand something. There's a level of entitlement. They're entitled to a great education. We talk about it, now we have to demonstrate it. There's room for directed lessons, mini lectures, textbooks, and even worksheets. There's time for that. But the bulk of the time is spent collaboration, working with groups, understanding the purpose, but also solving a problem by using a variety of formats and a variety of content. So we had to rebank ourselves and re-image ourselves and refine ourselves and retool ourselves. You see the launch where it has the 7 attributes. It has entry, driving questions, know, need to know, standards, rubrics, teams, partners, choice, and contract. Well, I'm going to tell you what we were doing in the beginning. We were launching it with integrity. The pathway inquiry and the pathway workshops, we weren't hitting those as robust as we should. And we were coming up with a culminating activity saying, okay, kids, we introduced it, now get the project done. I'm telling you, the projects were lousy. Kids struggled. Now we're retooling ourselves, and we're going in talking about building the research, the creativity, the homework, the revisions, and all these other kind of attributes that make our kids solid. One of the things that I can tell you, I have an incredible team. The team is really designed to figure out where our problems are and how do we fix our problems before somebody else tries to tell us how to fix them. We had the state superintendent visit, and he was very impressed on how well our kids understood content, how well they worked together, and how comfortable they were talking to adults. They had just met him for the first time. They're sharing their projects, their ideas, their themes, their aspirations with the state superintendent that they'd never met before, and he says, job well done. How many of you know a young person who's very, very bright, but very, very shy? That's a struggle, because if you're shy, you get lost in opportunities. If you're talking about going away to higher ed and you're not quite understanding what the professor wants you to do, if you know the professor has office hours and you are too intimidated to go visit him, you lost an opportunity. Our kids are self-advocates. They know how to advocate for themselves. So we're very, very excited. So I don't worry about the next group of young people going off to college, because they will know how to go to the professor and say, I'm not quite understanding what you are asking me to do. Here's a sample, and is it this or this? And believe it or not, suburban districts teach their kids how to do that. We just assume because you graduated from high school, you're ready to launch on your own. No, it takes more than that and more skills. In your folder, how many of you have a folder? Okay, if you don't, share with someone. There are 6 A's about project ideas and rubrics. So these things are vetted. They're not just things where kids come up with their projects, launch the projects, and then it goes on its own. I want to skip down to academic rigor. This is what the teacher gives you back as a footnote in a conversation. It says the project is not based on content standards. Project demands little specific knowledge of central concepts. That means the teacher's saying, I am rejecting the project because it's not robust enough. This won't get you anywhere. You know how we did it back in the day? Every time a kid did something, we said, oh, bravo, that was so great. Oh, awesome. No, this is a reality. If it's not good enough, we need to tell you it's not good enough. Look what's called acceptable. Same one, academic rigor. The project is derived from specific learning goals and content area standards. Project demands specific knowledge of central concept. Students develop and demonstrate life skills, collaboration, presentation, writing. That's acceptable. But for me, guess what? Why not go to the exemplary? Because this is what ACT and SAT is saying. If your kids can do exemplary work, their scores will change. So look at the differences. In addition to acceptable attributes, there is a well-defined, clear driving question that is derived from specific national, state, or district content standards. Project demands breadth and depth of specific knowledge of central concepts. Students develop habits of mind, concern for evidence, viewpoint and cause and effect, precision of language and thought, persistence. That's totally different. See, every project that comes our way doesn't get accepted. Sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and refresh and refine with your group. So when you guys are looking at this, when people are asking you about project-based learning and why we do it, look for the 6 A's. The 6 A's will guide you in a different way because guess what? These are the attributes that says this project must be top-notch in order for our kids to carry it off. It's not just some pie-in-the-sky thing that I came up with a project, guess what? It's going to be accepted because my group says it was good enough. It has to meet the litmus test, and the teacher's saying not good enough. And guess what? In some of these collaboration zones that we call them, students will tell you, your project's not good enough. Go back, refresh, refine, retool, re-engage. How many of you were already, and not the teachers and not the administrators, but how many of you were familiar with the 6 projects idea rubrics? You knew that we refine these things and not just let every project go through. How many of you already knew that? Okay, guess what? At the end of the day, you can be our advocates to let people know that every project that's put on the table is not a great project, but our hope and our idea and our aspirations is to make the project great, just by the way we vet it. Okay. So you've seen Jasmine and Alicia before. Look how Alicia started out. She struggled. But then she became proficient. Would you say Alicia has done a good job? All right. Look how Jasmine started out. Jasmine was a high flyer. What happened? The system failed Jasmine. Jasmine didn't fail herself. So I would probably venture to guess that Jasmine was probably a gifted kid who probably didn't get enough attention, enough work, enough encouragement. And look what happened. She met, they are never supposed to meet. One already had high aspirations and attributes. This is what it's supposed to look like. Alicia takes off, starts out struggling, and comes in strong. Meets her achievement goals. Look what happens with Jasmine. Jasmine's off the chart. How many of you know a student somewhere, someplace, somehow, or you were that student, you started out strong and then you slowed up? Did the system slow you up or did you slow yourself up? Probably a combination of both. This is what really is supposed to happen. There are really 3 types of kids. People think there are about 1 million different types. There are 3 types. Kids who struggle, kids who average, and kids who excel. What if we can get all the kids to move to the right? Every child moves to the right and excels academically. That's what this work is supposed to be about. How to move everybody. That's called our paradigm shift. Moving every kid to the right. Every kid excels academically. We're working with I I want to acknowledge two great guys from Envisions. Mark and Jeff. And basically, they're writing this 21st Century Learning Grant in conjunction with Winton City Schools to help make sure that the growth keeps happening. Because there are some things that happen in school that we can't control. There are things that have to happen outside of school and outside of the instructional day. So the 21st Century Learning Grant will help us do that. There's also another grant that we're working on, the Striving Readers Grant. We believe philosophically, if we can teach a young person to read, man, it's endless. They can go where most kids couldn't go. So 2 grants, keep your fingers crossed. We hope that we get them, and these are very, very big grants because we know that these are other things that we have to do with money. Money becomes an issue, so we write grants in order to fundamentally facilitate our work. How many of you have seen the quality reports ever? All right. We put one out every year, and it's about our grades, it's about our scores, it's about our attitude, it's about our work, it's about our conversation, it's about our amenities, it's about our music program, athletic program, everything that we do. Because we're not just A's, B's, and C's. There are a variety of things that we have to be part of in order to create this thing called school. So we put out a quality report, but our quality report has shifted dramatically from the first one that we put out. And guess what? Since we put one out, other districts are putting out a quality report. Actually, the state encourages you to put one out. There are 615 school districts in the state of Ohio. At least 600 of them put out a quality report because they're saying to taxpayers, we're more than just a test score. There are other things that make our school and our district what it's supposed to be. Night of Freedom. Who made it? Who was there? Young people showcasing their talent. The only thing that I struggle with the Night of Freedom, there's only one struggle. When you walk past a booth, don't make eye contact with that kid because he's dragging you in to tell that story. And what makes it so amazing is they're so proud of their work. These are projects that they've worked on with a group of young people. They collaborated, and they can't wait to share the experience. Young people moving it, understanding it, and really getting it done in a very, very diverse way. And guess what? Do they seem shy? But you know, all of those kids couldn't have that level of confidence coming in. So somebody has really imparted a level of confidence to saying, you can be whatever you want to be, and we can help you get there. Preschool, makerspaces, working on projects, collaborating, doing presentations. Unheard of. Unheard of. Miss Stiles in the preschool village. You know what's so interesting? Driving around the city, we see that we're a 5-star rated. That's the highest rating that you can get. And it's based on the great work that Miss Stiles has done with her team. But I'm going to tell you something. I only thought there were 5 stars. So driving around other communities, I see 1 stars. It would be 1 star, right? I see 2 stars. I'm thinking, wait a minute. I thought everybody got a 5. Well, guess what? They don't. They come in, they rate you based on how you are really working with young people, and that's how you get it. 36% of preschools rated receive 1, 2, 3, and 4-star school rating. 64% receive 5 stars. Now, there are 19% that haven't been rated yet. So we have the highest grade that you can get as far as preschool is concerned. That's why having a 300-seat preschool village is not a hard thing. How much room do we have in preschool, Ms. Stiles? None. We have no room in preschool right now. So imagine when we create the 300-seat preschool village. That's going to be amazing. I can see Mr. Denny coming out of his business office, chasing preschoolers all through the hallway. I can see Dr. Holden saying, get over here. And they're like, who are you? And just going on about their business. So at the end of the day, we were so busy. We were busy people working on high school, working on middle school. These are students that are exiting our system. We had to retool ourselves and say we need to work on young people coming into our system, brand new. That's where the preschool village is going to be. We're excited about it. The other part, we've had a lot of conversations about AP versus College Credit Plus. Which one is better? Which one do kids like the most? Which one has better attributes? Which one gets better scores? Which one gets better credit? Which one does universities like the most? Well, guess what? They can like both, because we're not talking about dismantling them. We're talking about putting them in, making sure they have integrity, making sure there's a vision, make sure there's an idea. But one of the things I want you to think about when we talk about advanced placement, AP courses. An advanced placement course is a course taught by the teacher with a group of other students, and at the end of that term, they take a test. Now, I'm hoping that that test day, things are right, because if you get a 5, you get the credit. If you get the 4, you might get the credit. If you get a 3, depends on the institution. 2s and 1s, not at all. You don't get the credit. College Credit Plus has a different attitude, where you're taking a class with a real professor on that campus, and guess what? They're saying you're good enough. See, our kids have been in this vacuum, in this cocoon called school for many years. We tell them you're good, you're great. You know, we hug them and tell them that they're the best, but then they get out into the free world and we're like, you can't compete. So did we do them a good service or did we do them a bad service? We have to tell them the truth. If we want our children to compete and be successful, what we have to do is put some challenges in front of them that make them successful. Because the world is a selfish place. People are not just going to embrace the kids and say, because you came from Winton Woods City Schools, you get a free ride. They have to work for it. But we have to prepare them for what the work looks like. Music performances. Absolutely incredible. So we have been named, again, to be part of the NAM Foundation, National Association of Music Merchants, as being one of the best communities for music education. How did we get that? Great teachers, great students, and early music programs. See, when people start talking about not enough money for this or not enough money for that, what do they usually want to cut? Art and music. Do you know art people and music people make incredible math people? I remember being a musician and I played this part. It was the most important part in the whole orchestra because it was my part. And I had a triangle part. Ding, that's all I did. That's all I got. But it was so important that if I missed it, it's done. So I'm counting my measures, and I'm watching carefully, and I'm watching the conductor, and when it's my time, ding. And my mom stood up just like, there he is. I was proud of that moment. See, some of you don't know what that feels like. All right. So this whole thing that we keep talking about this well-rounded kid, how do you get the well-rounded kid without having the well-rounded opportunities? We will not experiment on children. We don't. We create opportunities every single day. That's what we do. I had this great idea several years ago to have this thing called Conversation with the Superintendent. And I came into a group of seniors. I meet with them about 15 at a time, Miss Denny. Okay. And I said, I want you to share and tell me what you don't like, what we could be better than in, how we can improve our educational system. Did we let you down? Did we do everything that we said we were supposed to do? Just let me have it. And they let me have it. So I started writing questions out saying, okay, only ask me certain things. Okay, you can't hit me with all of this stuff at one time. They're like, get rid of uniforms. I need better food. Oh, and by the way, those 2 principals that you have, get rid of them. And I'm like, whoa, was kind of interesting. But we have these conversations because I want to know, and again, my first year, I'm walking into the arena at Xavier, and I'm meeting young people, and I'm handing them a diploma. I didn't even know who these kids were. That is so disrespectful. That's disrespectful from my part. And I can say I'm the superintendent, I'm busy, I don't have time, but you never have time you have time to do whatever you want to do, but you have to make time to know your product. These are my kids. I had to know who they were. So having those conversations now where they give me feedback about how to improve and how to make our district better, when I see them walking towards me and I'm handing them a diploma and they have a smile on their face, they're not smiling because they're leaving. They're smiling because we know each other. We actually met each other and had a great conversation a few times. This is ingenious. This is one of our best creative things yet. This is a food bus that will actually travel around for exercise, literacy, mobile hotspots. It'll travel around the district and actually feed our children. Mark Doctor, raise your hand, sir. Ingenious. Absolutely. Yes. So when you see that food bus coming around, just be proud that this is a contribution. This is something that we've done in order to take care of our children. I know that the days that we're up at 4 a.m., what time is it usually, Mr. Denny? 4 a.m., 3 a.m., trying to figure out if there's going to be a snow day. And I'm getting text messages from kids saying, call it off, man, you know what to do. You're the last school on here. What are we waiting for? And we're up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. trying to figure out how to make this thing work. One of the things that I have to keep in mind, we talked about our district being a district of destination. That's what we call ourselves now, a district of destination. Meaning if you make it here and you make it through our process, you will be good to go. And at the end of the day, when we looked at some of the socioeconomic conditions, in 2003, the conditions in our community was 12 to 15% of kids and families who struggled economically. In 2017-18, it's close to 80%. That means our families need some services. They need some help. See, at the end of the day, the 80% is a number, but guess what? In our schools, we see the real bodies. Those real bodies mean something. We have to change the way we do business in order to meet the needs of our learners. So, do we have a driver? No, you're too short. You can't drive that bus. Okay, we have drivers? Okay, all right. So, this is going to be exciting, seeing this bus come around with the hot spots, and we're talking about leisure activities, we're talking about exercise and being very, very proactive. We're talking about the Winton City Schools Nutrition is the Mission bus. It's almost done, so it'll be coming to a neighborhood near you. This is what I believe. I philosophically believe I can do anything. However, together we can do everything. Because I can't do everything alone, and neither can my team. We have to have support, we have to have help. So I can do anything, but I can't do everything. Raise your hand if you can do everything. If you try to do everything, you come up with another thing called nothing. That's what comes up. Not saying you, Miss Roselle, but you know where I'm going. So this is the something. This is the something. This is the other thing that we need you to be part of. This is our work. So my great treasure, who's sitting, lounging on the couch over there, you did nod off on me? Okay. He gave me some scripted information. We're trying to pass a substitute levy. It's like a renewal. But guess what? Repeat after me. It won't raise taxes. One more time. Period. It won't raise taxes. It won't raise taxes. It's a renewal. So here's Mr. Seymour's script. The substitute levy will replace the current emergency levy. There will be no increase in taxes. I didn't see people say, wow. Let me read that again. The substitute levy will replace the current emergency levy. There will be no increase in taxes. Wow. Okay, very good. The district is only asking to maintain the same level of funding. It is for $4.2 million, the same amount as the emergency levy, which will expire on December 31st, 2019. So the substitute just replaces. It's a replacement. No new taxes. None. Zip. Zero. And I'm going to keep this little note from Mr. Seymour, and I'm going to remember it because this is what he told me. Will not increase taxes. This is a replacement. This is a substitute. And in order for the district to keep doing the great work with music, with education, with project-based learning, with all of the other amenities that you guys have seen on the screen tonight, we need to make sure that we are supporting it. So we're waiting for the board to complete the resolution, and hopefully you guys will see this on the ballot very, very soon. So I've been here 5 years. This is year 5. And we've had growth, but guess what? We've had growth, but now we have 2 new campuses. That increases the growth twofold. So the goal in the next coming years, before the buildings are here, is to have 5,000 students in this district. I had a conversation with Dr. Weir several weeks ago, and Mr. Pennycuff, I have to quote you. You have to tell me if this is accurate. He says the last time there were 5,000 students in the district was in 1966. This is 2018. We can beat that number. Remember, more students in school taking advantage of opportunities, that's a growing community. Most districts, guess what? It's shrinking. Their enrollment is shrinking. And I know some people may ask the question, well, Superintendent, do we need 5,000? We need anybody who's willing to come to be educated. Because that means we build a stronger community for our students for the future. I remember when we were at Taft and we made some great news, National Blue Ribbon and all these other great things, and our teachers became selective. They said, okay, principal, I got a great idea. Here comes my teacher team. Since we have all these kids who want to come now, let's start being selective and let's only take the ones that are. I said, wow, okay. So I met with some students and I said, wow, they had a vote. They said we should only take all the teachers that are. So I'm going to show you your name's not on the list. They took you off the list. And so they came back and said, you know what, we should just let all the kids come. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because, see, when you start having a level of success, people start trying to be selective. We don't leave any kids out. We don't leave anybody off. And guess what? The district came up with open enrollment years ago. And you know the advantage that we have with open enrollment? If we're the only project-based learning district in this area, and our students transfer somewhere else, we're giving them the green light to be able to come back and still be part of Winton Woods City Schools. That's what's called being responsible. So it doesn't matter where they live. If they can get to the school, we will still give them the same opportunity. Because let's face it, guys, at the end of the day, the movement of our children is not the children. It's some circumstances. Something has happened and they have to move. No fault of their own. And we don't blame them. We just give them another opportunity to still be part of a great institution called Winton Woods City Schools. So guess what? That's the work. That's how we do it. We are so excited for everybody here who's been through school. How many of you think the people that were designing your school designed it with you in mind? Or they built a building and put the kids in it. That's usually how it happened. Our buildings are so unique. These buildings are built with our students in mind, with project-based learning in mind. It is a very intentional behavior. SHP, the architects in leading design, they have never developed a project like this ever. How many schools do you think they built, Mr. Denny? Hundreds, all across the country. They have never built anything like this before, ever. They're so excited about what's happening on the inside as well as the outside with project-based learning, 93 classrooms, 24 makerspaces in every one of these buildings. They're so excited about it. Guess what they want to do? They want to do a documentary on this expansion, this explosion, this educational opportunity. Never been done before, ever in the history of their work. How many of you, the school that you were in, it was so exciting, so innovative, that they did a documentary on it? No one. Okay, so this is a breakthrough. This is something new and exciting. And every time I do go to a superintendent's meeting and they say, hey, share something, I said, I'll just share the same stuff that I've been sharing. Anybody here? So I'm in the room with 50 other superintendents and everybody's bragging about their stuff. And I said, hey, can you guys tell me the last time you guys had a documentary done on your school? They're like, no. I said, oh, they're doing one on ours. I'll keep you informed about how it works. And some of them, guess who built their buildings? SHP. They said, well, why didn't they decide to do a documentary on us? I said, based on the information they've given me personally, and I'm not really supposed to share, but I'll share it with you, you weren't good enough. That's why they chose me. So at the end of the day, SHP chose us because we're good enough. So we're excited about all of the attributes that are coming to Winton Woods City Schools. We're happy that you guys are a part of it. We're happy that you guys believe in our innovative ideas, our project-based learning, and every concept that comes to our young people, because guess what? This is the right work at the right time for the right kids in every seat, in every building, for every child, every day. Our next date of the schools is September 6th. We even know the date. The date. One day, State of the Schools will be in a new building. One day. Reimagining education for every student, in every building, in every seat, every day. Thank you. Questions? Oh, before I go, I need to talk a little bit. I need to say one thing about how many of you have ever heard of North Central Accreditation? North Central Accreditation is the accreditation company that accredits a high school for having all of the amenities that a school is supposed to have. Do you know there are some schools in the state that are not part of North Central Accreditation, or the new term is Advanced Ed? So we just had our review. And this Advanced Ed sticker is going to be on the diplomas that says we are an accredited institution. And so here's the rating. There are 4 different categories. Needs improvement, 0. We didn't have any improvements needed. Emerging, that means excelling beyond the scope of most institutions. The number of standards we had in that category were 4. Meets expectations, 16. Exceeds expectations, 10. So we exceeded, we just blew it out of the water, meaning we have made the rating system so incredible because guess what? They believe in the work that we're doing, and this is a group of people that has no affiliation with us at all. They don't know us. They come in and they look at our system and they evaluate it compared to other systems and they say, guess what? Winton Woods is a superstar. So to the high school folks, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your commitment, your time. There's one other thing that I'd like to read. Anybody here ever had a bad day? A bad week? Well, my daughter gave me this card. No, it's not from her. She's not that sentimental. She probably got it from somewhere else. But she said, this card came to me. She gave it to me. I think she's been holding it. It says March the 2nd, so that means she's been holding it for a couple of months. I see her almost every day. She says, It says, Mr. Smith, I can't thank you enough for truly caring about my family. You're always able to help find solutions. It has been extremely comforting to go to PN Monday through Friday to be with another family. And this is Miss Trubel?
My wife.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You know, this it says hello, and it wasn't for anything. It really made my day. It really made my day. And so for other people, if you want to give me a card with cash in it, feel free. I mean, anytime you want, it's okay. But these are the things that just makes the work that much more favorable. Just for someone to say thank you for just caring for the kids that, you know, are trusted in our care. So, any questions at this point? Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering how you're going to finance the food bus.
Excellent question. Where's our open mic? To Mr. Doctor? Excellent question.
My voice sounds weird.
Hello. We are funding the food bus in various different ways. We've gone out to get grants. We've also had donations in kind and also the department funding. So 4 different ways we're doing it.
So what I was concerned about also is if you start something like that, you want to make sure you've got enough things
Excellent.
to sustain, you know, to go.
Right.
So the grant is for how, as a federal grant for how long?
Well, it's not so much that the grant is to create the bus.
Okay.
But we also get federal reimbursements for the summer food program. So we anticipate, and hopefully this year, we'll be anywhere from 20 to 30,000 meals this summer throughout the district. And we get reimbursed for that.
You cannot sustain that, you know, each year.
It should be self-sustaining. Actually, we think we're going to be paying off the bus within a less than 5-year period. So it'll continue to grow, especially if we have more kids.
The other one, I mean, part of it, I was wondering if you needed community donations or something.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll take more donations, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. How is this being financed?
Yeah, we're continuing
Don't start
to,
something and we can't continue.
no, we're going to continue.
I totally agree, Ms. Franklin. We don't start anything we can't sustain. That is a very, very important part. Yes. So then one day we can have 2 buses. Yes.
3.
3?
We can only grow.
Absolutely. More questions?
One of, you know, we got a list. I heard the village will handle 300 preschoolers. How many preschoolers do we have today?
76.
Okay, so we got plenty of room to grow.
We got plenty of room to grow. I think that's the other part, Ms. Franklin, that I think that people need to really kind of capture. To me, I think there are certain atrocities in the world that we have to kind of shoulder as educators. I don't think it's fair for a child to wait to go to school because there's no space. That's dangerous. So,
Well, yeah.
right now,
It kind of flipped over because we switched to filling for next year, which we're already full for next year. So before I started doing that, we had 80 plus children on the waiting list.
What's the age?
what age are you working with, Ms. Stiles?
3 and 4 year olds.
So you gotta be 3 and a half at the start of it?
Anyone who turns 3 on or before September 30th.
And we also have all-day kindergarten. And how much space do you have, Mr. Jones?
We don't have any, we'll find, we'd like to have more, we have 7 kindergarten classes.
7 kindergarten classrooms at capacity. So we're thinking about our young learners and making sure that we have enough space to take care of their needs. Yes. All right. In the beginning of this whole conversation, you wondered if it's going to be a sunny day, will people stay out and walk around on the track and not come? Or if it's going to be a rainy day, if they're going to stay inside. but this is a perfect day. So thank you guys for your time, your commitment, and your love for Winton Woods City Schools. Ms. Franklin has one more small question. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You're sitting next to Miss Wilson and Mr. Pennycutt. This is what you say. You say, Miss Wilson wanted to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it for her. That's what you do.
Actually, when you use the word substitute levy, I was like, well, what does that mean? And then you said, but it's like a renewal. And I'm going, everybody knows renewal. Use a word everybody understands.
I will definitely do that.
It's so much easier to tell them, taxes don't increase.
I appreciate it. Renewal, no increase in taxes. Good enough? All right. So if you guys see me on top of that bus riding around, I'm spreading the good word. All right. Thank you and get home safe.